welcome to Elements of Ayurveda, Empowering Wisdom of Life. I'm your host, Colette, and in this podcast, I hope to empower you to take charge of your own health by sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, the ancient healing tradition from India. We will also discuss topics like health and wellness, nutrition, yoga, fitness, meditation, breath work, and much more, as well as interviewing lots of inspiring people along the way. My humble wish is to help you to connect to your true nature, to Mother Nature, and to each other. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe to the show, and the new episodes will automatically download for you to enjoy. If you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend you listen to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. I've also set up a Facebook group for us to connect and to support each other, and I'd love for you to join me over at Elements of Ayurveda podcast group. And now, here's the show. Hey, before we start the show, did you know that I'm hosting an Ayurveda and yoga retreat right here on the French Riviera this October, the 11th to the 13th, a 3-day weekend of connection, education, and relaxation. We're going to enjoy lots of talks on Ayurveda, yoga classes and Ayurvedic workshops, and we're going to hang out in this lovely medieval village which is just outside Nice, and Nice has the international airport, so it's really easy to access. If you're interested, please check out my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com/retreat. So check it out. I would love to have you here and connect with you in person. It will be fantastic. So I hope you can join us. Okay, now let's get on with the show. Hello and welcome to Elements of Ayurveda. Today I have a returning guest, Erin Douglas, who is Banyan Botanicals Corporate Responsibility and Community Relations Manager. Her passions include world travel, which includes 9 trips to India, hiking with her dog Jasper, and attempting to make the world a brighter place through her humanitarian service work and her nonprofit work with the Helpers Farm and Learn, Grow, Lead. Erin has been with Banyan Botanicals since 2013, and she holds a bachelor's degree in organizational communications and public health from Northern Arizona University and is a NAMA certified Ayurvedic wellness counselor. Well, hello, Erin.
Well, hello, Colette. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Me too. So just to let folks know why I said you're a returning guest, because we spoke at the NAMA conference in California in April, and you were there with Banyan Botanicals, and I interviewed yourself and Sean for the NAMA podcast, and we spoke briefly about the fact that Banyan Botanicals had just been registered as a B Corp business. And we agreed in that episode that we wanted to do a podcast episode all about B corporations, what they are and how wonderful it is. And this is why we are here today, right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm remembering that conversation, and if you recall, I got choked up when we were talking about the B Corp movement and about Banyan becoming a certified B Corp, because this topic to me is just so deeply meaningful for so many reasons. And I'm just so excited to share a little bit more, because I think anyone interested in Ayurveda is very likely going to be interested in the B Corp movement if they don't already know about it. There's just so much, I guess, inherent in the values of both, that it just really makes sense for us to have this conversation. So,
absolutely.
Yes, it's been deeply impactful, and I'm just so excited to share a little bit more about our journey and what I've learned and what lights me up, and sharing this information with your audience.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to dig in, and I totally agree. I think this is the future of business. This is where we need to be shifting to, and this is why I want to introduce it to people today, not only if they're interested in if they have a business or, I'm becoming a B Corp, but really just to get the information out there to people so that we can support these businesses who are making such a conscious effort to do better and be better. So let's start, Erin, if you could explain what is a B Corporation to people, please.
Sure. Yes, I will do my best to do that. So So a certified B Corporation is a business that is really committing to using business as a force of good in the world to help solve some of our toughest social and environmental problems in the world. So in order to become a B Corp, there's a really rigorous assessment, which includes approximately 200 questions. It depends on your industry, your company size, and the assessment's really dynamic. So if you answer a question one way, it'll kind of take you down a personalized process according to your answers. But what's important to say is it's super rigorous, and they score companies positively. So you're not getting points taken away if you're doing something, but rather you're earning points on the assessment for your positive practices.
Great.
So it's a really motivational process. It's a really educational process, and rigorous. I'd say it's definitely a commitment to become a certified B Corp company. And they measure, basically, I think it's important for people to know that they measure different areas on. There's 4 different areas that they measure on in the B impact assessment. So they're looking at a company's governance, so their legal structure, their transparency around their sustainability efforts. They're looking at workers and things like compensation and benefits and workers' environment. They're looking at community as another section, which includes taking a really deep look at your supply chain, including customers, diversity initiatives, and also philanthropy and volunteerism in the community section. And then there's the massive section of environment, which looks at a company's carbon footprint, their energy use, looks at kind of their facilities, if they're a manufacturer like we are, their facilities and different practices in the facilities and manufacturing process, how company reduces their wastes. And then there's another cool area called the impact business model. And for example, Banyan, we earned points because we're a certified organic company, and 99.5% of our products are certified organic. The other 0.5% are things that we can't certify, such as mineral salt and minerals.
Yeah.
But we earn quite a big chunk of points because we're reducing toxins in the environment by being organic. Yeah. And I guess if I were to say, kind of connect to the heart a little bit more around what a certified B Corp business is and what they stand for. And if I had one word, it would be kindness. It would be kindness. It's really about transforming the world we live in, and it's a practical way to make a difference in the world.
Yeah, and like I said, they give so many incentives. Now, who oversees this?
Yeah, so the impact assessment that I mentioned is free for all any company that wants to take a look. But in order to certify, there's a nonprofit organization in Pennsylvania called B Lab. B and then the word lab, like laboratory, and they oversee and certify. They have standard analysts that companies work with, and they are the ones that certify companies. And in order to once you choose to certify, you do pay an annual fees, and it can be as low as $500 all the way up to, I believe, $50,000 if you're a multinational massive company like Unilever.
Right.
But those fees go to support the amazing work of B Lab. And another fun thing I'll add about B Lab is they chose the name B Lab as their nonprofit name because they say this is really a laboratory for all of us who care about social and environmental impact and using our businesses as a force of good to collectively understand and grow and share feedback and best practices, that there's no finite way to do this, that we're figuring out together. So in that sense, it's a real community of change makers coming together. And that's just one of the added benefits for people choosing to certify, that you get to participate with companies like Patagonia and Ben & Jerry's and so many others.
Right. You've got a like-minded community who want to take these approaches in order to change the way things are done and change the status quo.
Absolutely. Yeah. And every year they have what they call an annual champions conference. And this year in 2019, it's going to be in Los Angeles. And so our CEO and I are going, and we're just so excited. There's so many other conferences and sustainability conferences for, I guess I'd say, larger corporations. But these are the people that we want to rub elbows with. These are the companies we would go work with. These are the people we want to be friends with. Yeah,
inspirational, like-minded.
Just really the companies that care to walk the talk, and really the certification, B Corp certification, is truly about integrity.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a more credible way to show a company's integrity or a credible certification. I think this is the gold standard.
Absolutely.
Out of all the different certifications out there. And I will say B Corp uses an analogy, a couple different analogies, but they'll say B Corp is to business what fair trade is to a bag of coffee, or what the certification of USD organics is to, say, an herb, a banyan herb. But B Corporation certifies an entire company and its overall business practices. So it really is demonstrating that a company is 100% committed, because it takes a tremendous amount of work and time to become B Corp certified. Yes.
And so I've heard, and I'm going to ask you more about that in a moment. And that's really interesting, because I wasn't sure where it came from. So it's a nonprofit in Pennsylvania. And do you know how long they've been around, or when they formed?
Oh God. Well, I'll double check it, but I think it's something like 18 years. I think there currently is around 2,900 certified B corporations in the world right now. So it's not that many in the big picture, but more than 50,000 companies have engaged in the B impact assessment, that free assessment that any company can use to start benchmarking their efforts.
Okay, that's great. So they are benchmarking them, maybe not necessarily going through with the full certification process, but as we know it, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it in a moment, it is a big, big process. So it can take time.
Yes. And I will share just a little bit about what I know about the founders of B Lab.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get this exactly right, but there's three guys, they studied together, I believe at Stanford. They definitely studied together at Ivy League school. They started a shoe company. They had a very successful shoe company, and then some things went wrong, I guess, or that took a change for I guess the worse, and they decided they needed to sell the business. And they had built in all these beautiful social and environmental policies and procedures within their company, and really offered their employees some great benefits and meaningful work. And when it came time to sell the company, they realized that was written into their corporate bylaws, that they had to sell the company to the highest bidder. And that was the standard way of doing business and selling companies. That there was nothing that would protect all of these amazing social and environmental practices that they were built into the DNA of their company. So they had to sell their company to the highest, bidder, which really didn't take into account all of these stakeholders, including the environment, their employees, their supply chain. And they had to sell to the highest bidder. And that really rocked their worlds. And out of that came something amazing, which is B Lab. They said, how can we protect, the inherent goodness in companies, and how can we lock in the mission of a company in their DNA to their corporate bylaws. And so of that came a business structure, an entity called the Benefit Corporation. And that's something that's similar to B Corp, but not, it's a little bit different. So B Corps earn extra points by becoming a benefit corporation, but it's not required to be a B corporation. But the same founders of B Lab are responsible for creating legislature, and I think like at least 30 different states now, that provides companies the opportunity to become a benefit corp. So these guys are amazing humanitarians and visionaries and change makers that created that benefit corp legislation, and also that created the B Corp certified B corporation process and structure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, you're welcome.
So before we get into the process of becoming a B Corp, can you tell us a little bit about why it was important to Banyan Botanicals to become a certified B Corp?
Yes. When I started at Banyan, what drew me to Banyan was the beautiful values that Banyan holds, and their 3 pillars of certified organic, fairly traded, and sustainable sourcing. And what the CEO Kevin and I, we started having some really wonderful conversations about how do we measure those things. How do we benchmark our success, and how do we set goals for improvement? And there's not really an easy way to do that. I mean, you could hire a really expensive consultant to kind of come up with a plan for you. But after doing some research, we decided that B Corp certification would give us a framework and a practical way to benchmark where we're at, where we're really doing well, and more importantly, to see some of the areas where we can improve. And so I would say, just in general, we saw it as a way to benchmark and set some standards for ourselves, but also it's a hugely educational process.
Yes,
just going through the assessment. You could spend probably weeks just on one question. Like there's so much research you could do. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that, because they kind of do that for you. They give you in the assessment, they give you different tools and other resources to consider when writing new policies and drafting new procedures and best practices from other companies. But back to your question, why did we choose to certify? We really wanted to prove to ourselves that we were walking our talk. And then, of course, we also know that our customers don't, and our employees, they choose us, they choose Banyan because of those values. Right. And a lot of people thought that we were a B corporation. And we hear that, I thought you were already a B corporation. Just because it just made intuitive sense, because our values, becoming a B Corp, and our own business values and the values of Ayurveda really overlap.
Right.
So it just made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those out there listening who are not familiar with Banyan Botanicals company and the amazing integrity of this company and the quality control and their how they produce their products, I really highly recommend that you listen to an episode that I did early on in the podcast with Devansha. And he just talked all about the quality control and the supply chain and the fair trade element and the community relationships you have with the farmers. So I really recommend that you go check out that episode, because it just shows the integrity that runs through Banyan Botanicals and the process and the business as a whole. So I can see why people would have thought you were already a B Corp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So can you tell us a little bit about the process of becoming a B Corp? Now, obviously it's very detailed, so maybe give us a synopsis of it. That would be great.
Yeah, well, I'll start by telling kind of our journey,
Please.
because I
Thank
think
you.
for every company it's a little bit different. So I was the champion within Banyan that said, "Hey guys, we need, we really need to do this," and everyone got on board. And it's really helpful. This is also some advice to people considering becoming certified B Corps. It's really helpful to have the support and buy-in from the CEO. So
Yeah.
that they can then encourage, it takes buy-in from the entire company. Banyan Botanicals, we've been in business for 23 years. Last week we celebrated our 23rd birthday.
Wow.
And so for a company like ours versus, a 1 or 2, 3-person startup company, it takes a lot more work
Yes.
to become certified because, there's already a lot happening, and we have 68 employees and so many different departments that have been doing things for several years, doing things certain ways. And so it really takes the leadership of the CEO to share the vision and the why. It doesn't have to do that, but it's helpful. In our case, it was really helpful to have Kevin's support and his buy-in to motivate all of us to get behind all the work ahead.
Right.
So it took us about 2 years once we started the certification process and became certified. And that's because we really took our time. As I said, there's the 5 sections of the B Corp assessment, and each one, I think, for most companies, it would take a minimum of 5 to 6 months to certify. If you're really doing it in integrity and doing it to change the way you do business and really implementing some new practices and policies and procedures, it takes some time. And so you don't want to rush through the process. You want to really educate yourself and educate your teams. So we started with the workers section, and that was because B Lab recommended that. I mean, it's quite overwhelming. I'll be honest. There's so much you can do.
Right.
With over, close to 200 questions. It's like, oh my goodness, it can become really overwhelming and even a little deflating. You're like, oh my gosh, we have so much work to do. Boy, I thought we were doing so well already. But I should say we started with the quick impact assessment. So that's what I would recommend to companies. Is you start with the impact assessment. I think it's about 30 questions. And you start there just to kind of dip your toe in and say, okay, get a feel for what the process is going to be like. And so that's what we did. And that's when we said, wow, this is bigger than we anticipated, this project.
Right.
And that we're really going to take our time and we're going to set quarterly goals and maybe even monthly goals to what we want to accomplish as we go. And so that's kind of how we did it. And once we took that short impact assessment, we rolled it over and we decided to start with the worker section and working with HR. And so we implemented a lot of new policies and procedures within the worker section. And a lot of those things roll into your employee handbook.
Right.
Including worker flexibility, like getting real clear on policies around working from home, when you can start your day, and just it really clarifying some of those questions that employees have.
Fantastic.
And so that's really, really helpful. That's one thing we did. We also, the whole process of going through the assessment and seeing how we can earn points in different areas, in the process of the last 3 years, I'd say we launched our first 401k, and now we do a 401k matching.
Right.
And those were things we talked about doing for years. So, and we just were motivated to make it happen because we wanted to become B Corp certified. So that's a really cool thing is it really motivates you to get things done.
Exactly.
That you've been talking about doing. so that's a little bit look into our workers section. We also, for example, in the community section, some really amazing things happened. It inspired us to better track, our philanthropic donations, our in-kind donations. And we put a page up on our website that says Banyan Gives Back. And it kind of highlights some of the areas and projects that we're supporting.
Great.
And so that we did because of B Corp certification. We've got some good stories to tell. Let's share these stories.
Right.
And we also started our new community grant project, which is something that I've been talking about doing for more than 6 years and finally was inspired to make that happen.
Oh, fantastic. So community grant project.
So basically, and maybe I can share a link to that in
please.
show notes, but it's a fund that we've set aside to empower Ayurvedic change makers in their communities. So people that are making a difference or wanting to make a difference by sharing Ayurveda in their communities. For example, we received an application just yesterday from somebody that works in Northern California where that the Paradise Fire happened.
Yes, the whole town was decimated by the fire. Yeah,
decimated by the fire, and she's wanting to share Ayurveda at a reduced cost, not for free, which she feels is important because people take it more seriously.
Yeah.
But at a much, I think 75% discounted rate,
Wow.
where she can share Ayurveda with people who've been affected, either dealing with PTSD or actual burn patients, people that have been burned, and sharing Ayurveda to help them heal from emotional and physical traumas.
That's fantastic.
So that's one applicant. So right now, July 1st through September 30th is our submission period. Okay. And we'll be awarding people in the U.S. that are doing great things in their community to share Ayurveda and help heal their communities. We'll be rewarding them with financial donation as well as product donations.
Wow. That's amazing. I love it.
Isn't that sweet? Oh, and we've made this gorgeous video highlighting a project here in our local community where I live that we've been supporting called Rogue Herbalism.
Oh.
And I encourage our listeners today to check that out. But it's a beautiful story.
I'll get that from you, and I will post it on the podcast Facebook group page so people can see it.
Yeah, great. So that's just another way that we've are doing great things in the area of community, but also earning points. It's very practical. So you get points for those positive actions in the B Corp assessment. Fantastic. And so to offer a little more color to the actual process, what does it actually take is we have tasked out different priorities and policies and procedures to various departments within Banyan Botanicals to help us achieve points, but more importantly, obviously, to improve our social and environmental impact. Right. Primarily we're doing that, but it's also very encouraging and kind of fun that you earn points along the way.
Yeah. And what a great way to do it. This really gets down to the nitty gritty. And like I said, it gives you an incentive to get started on those projects that you've been talking about, but putting on the kind of the long finger for years.
Yeah, right. It's so true. And we, it also helped us discover things that we were already doing well, like as our corporate responsibility manager in Oregon. So we have 2 offices, our marketing, customer service, corporate responsibility is all taking place in Ashland, Oregon, primarily. And we also have couple members of our corporate responsibility team in Albuquerque, where our manufacturing facilities are. Right. And one of the things that I learned through the assessment is that we, from our oil production, so, in Ayurvedic oil process, we're using herbs, we're cooking in herbs into the oils. And then the end of that process, we have waste. Right. And so how do we dispose of that waste? Well, I learned that we compost 100% of the herbal waste to a company called Soilutions in Albuquerque. And so we actually have our own compost pile, a giant compost pile. I think it's like 10 feet high.
Wow.
At this place called Soilutions, and we just go and dump our herbal waste there. And our oil waste is donated for biofuel. There's someone that comes and accepts our oil waste for using it in their vehicle. Talk about a win-win, right?
Right?
A win-win-win in the environment.
Yes, amazing.
The individual and Banyan.
Yes, amazing.
So I'll go ahead and just share a little more about that process. So once a company hits 70 points in their score and their B Impact assessment score, then B Lab will assign a standards analyst to you, and you get to have a call.
Oh, great.
And generally, companies lose points because there can be it can be a little confusing answering some questions. And so they'll clarify those questions. And so companies that go through the process should expect to lose some points, but also they should expect to, or not, I don't know if they should expect, but it can happen that a company will earn points in areas maybe where they underestimated themselves.
Okay.
So our analyst, Claudia, was just amazing, so kind, so smart, so brilliant. These people are, just amazing change makers. I was so impressed with that process. And then we map out, okay, well, we need to get at least another 10 points to hit the minimum 80 point threshold to become certified.
Okay.
And so then we worked on that. One of the things that is required to become a B Corp assessment is that you mission lock, and that's that legal requirement.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah, so companies can choose to become a benefit corporation, or B, you can still keep your same legal structure. Ours for Banyan, we're an LLC, but you rewrite your bylaws in order to protect all stakeholders.
That's fantastic.
And so you just write in your mission, and you write in that we our stakeholders include the environment, our employees, our community, and that we make business decisions that include all stakeholders, not just to maximize profit.
Right.
Love it. And so in that way, it protects the CEO as well, because all shareholders then know that it's not just about maximizing profit here.
Yes.
So he's protected when he makes the decision he or she makes the decision to, for example, switch to more eco-friendly packaging. But it costs more money to do so.
Exactly.
But still, we're going to do that because that's important to our mission and our stakeholders.
I love it. And because that's the issue with a lot of companies now, it's all about the shareholders, stakeholders, and making a profit. So This is a wonderful way to do it. And I know you mentioned, I remember in our last conversation, you said that if the company is sold, that mission statement is locked in.
Yes, absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that protects the company and also then, all of its stakeholders, its employees, and its supply chain. That's amazing. That's really cool. And then, what happened after we hit 80 points is great. We now submitted our assessment for certification. And then that same analyst will work with worked with us, Claudia in our case. And then during the verification process, they requested random documents to prove that, our answers were true. And so, for example, we had to show pictures of that compost pile and and pictures of our waste going to that compost pile.
Great.
We had to show meeting notes and pictures of our meetings with our suppliers, and logs of different practices. They look at, for example, we had to show health and safety meeting logs. And that's one of the worker areas. How do we protect our workers? Because we're in manufacturing facilities. So we have to show logs of those meetings. To give a few examples, then we have to show several policies and trainings, like who actually was involved in trainings at our company. For example, we created a environmental purchasing policy where we prefer, our preferred vendors are, for example, some B Corps. Like we buy all of our office supplies from a B Corp located in Northern California. And so that's written in our preferred purchasing policy. We also prefer to purchase locally.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean? Well, in some cases, we will buy things locally to reduce our carbon footprint.
Right.
And it's not all about the best price.
Great.
So we take all of those things into consideration, and we had to prove that we trained our employees, and we had to show our policy on that.
Wow. And so you had to submit all this information to them. And then what happens then? So then they go through everything and they request more documents or photos or logs.
And you also have to, for us, the very last thing we did was we mission locked. Okay. So, we worked with we thought that was going to take more work and be a bigger deal than it was. It was really very simple. And once we submitted that, within a few hours, they're like, congratulations, you're certified. And here's your, they verified our score, and our current score is 89.7.
Excellent.
And people can check that out on B Corp's website. You can just look for all the directory of B Corps and type in Banyan Botanicals.
Okay, great. That's what I wanted to ask about. There is a directory on the B Corp website, which I want to add in a link into the show notes so people can see what companies are on there.
Yes. And you can sort it by country. You can sort it by state. You can sort it by industry.
Fantastic.
So that's really cool. And so what happens then too is that score is locked in for 3 years.
Oh, great.
And then at 3 years, we go through another recertification process all over again. And B Corp every 3 years, they add new questions. I mean, they keep companies on their toes, and your score does drop every 3 years because they add these new questions in that you have to answer. And so it's just demonstrating a company's commitment. If a company is committed to sustainability initiatives,
yes,
and social, environmental, positive change, then if they're a B Corp, they're really showing that commitment, because it does take a tremendous amount of work to get certified. But it's making time for what matters. And, for us, that's tremendously important. It's part of the triple bottom line, is that we're not just measuring our profits, that we have a tangible way to measure our social and environmental impact. And again, just, we want to constantly be improving our score year over year. But one of the things we've started doing, and hopefully you'll be seeing this soon, is we're releasing our first, what the industry calls a sustainability report or an impact report, but at Banyan we're calling it our social and environmental responsibility report.
Great.
But that'll be released. So every year we're going to start releasing this annual report.
Amazing.
So that we can benchmark internally. We're using it as a tool, but also to share with our customers. So that's really cool. And you get points on the B Corp assessment for doing that. So that's
fantastic.
Another win-win.
Yeah, exactly. It is a win-win, because then you can also broadcast to your customers and your company and workers. And I think it's so morale boosting for everybody.
Absolutely.
The whole process, I think it must have been really morale boosting for the whole company.
You are totally right. Like we're still celebrating.
Yeah.
We've been celebrating that accomplishment and kind of sharing what it means and with our employees for months now since we're certified. And I think it deepens loyalty. It
absolutely
deepens loyalty for employees and for our customers. We really believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. If I was working for a company who was, a B corporation, it would really have a huge impact on me, because, you're making a difference in the world through your work you're doing with this company. And yes. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I think for all of us in the field of Ayurveda, I think it's safe to say that we're all karma yogis.
Yes.
That we're all here to serve, and we're all here to make a difference in the lives of others, by improving their well-being, improving the well-being of the planet. We know the human race can't sustain if our planet's not healthy.
Voila.
And our communities aren't healthy. And so I think that certification is deeply meaningful for us in the field of Ayurveda. And there's also a tremendous amount of research out there, Harvard Business Review and really credible media outlets saying that millennials deeply care about the B Corp movement, and that they deeply care about working for companies that where they can make a difference, where it feels meaningful to get up and go to work every day. And obviously we get that through Ayurveda in our work, but then there's a whole nother layer, with the B Corp certification, that we're just adding so much more meaning to our work and our processes. So it is wonderful. And then I'll also say there's so much research. These are all added values that millennials and conscious consumers deeply care about these things. And again, like deepening the loyalty and probably therefore increasing sales, as an added value to a B Corp company. Because it isn't just about environmental and social impact, but we obviously want to be a profitable company so that we can stick around and serve our customers for generations to come. So that profit piece is also important.
Absolutely. And this is what I often mention on the podcast is, we have, as consumers, we can vote with our dollars, euros, pounds, whatever it is, that we can vote with our money by purchasing from companies who are B corporations. That I think that's an amazing way to do it. And it's so positive to hear that, these reports coming out in the media that this is the future and people are very aware of this, in particular the millennials, and they not only want to work from these companies, but they also want to support these companies. So that will give other companies more incentive to shift away from that shareholder focus of profit only to let's look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, I've heard some people say that the B Corp movement is capitalism redefined.
Yes.
And I like that.
Yes.
And I've also heard, which I think is really funny. I'm going to use a bad word. I hope you're okay with that. But it says there's a company in Europe that says that we feel B Corp is a no bullshit stamp.
Great.
Great. So basically, like I said, if a company is committed to B Corp certification, they are seriously investing time and energy into these processes, and it's verified. So it's a no bullshit stamp. I love that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's amazing. So tell us a little bit now, Erin, about what does this certification mean for the future of Banyan Botanicals? We talked a bit about how the mission statement is locked in, but can you talk about that a little bit? What does it mean for the future of your company?
Yeah, I'd love to share a little bit about that. Well, in the coming years, we still have so many goals to accomplish. And again, B Corp has helped us. The process of becoming certified and going through the assessment has really helped us look at our practices under a microscope. In one area that we've identified as a focus, especially in the year 2020, next year, is measuring our carbon footprint.
Oh, wow.
And for us, a big part of that is our supply chain.
Right.
And we really aim to first become carbon neutral and then eventually to become carbon negative. And so we want to also understand how planting Ayurvedic herbs is helping to offset our carbon footprint.
Yes.
And so that's really interesting. And we want to better understand that process and how do we measure that and how do we set, more goals. Another thing is, we're starting to grow more of our own herbs and source them more locally.
Okay.
We have a better understanding that buying most of our herbs in India, there's some amazing benefit there. Like we're helping the lives of the farmers and growers there. We also understand that it's the traveling of the herbs to the U.S. so that we can manufacture our products in the U.S. and then mailing them. It's not so great for our carbon footprint and for the environment. We're leasing some land even here in Southern Oregon, send our employees out there's 2 Thursdays every month where different groups of employees here in Southern Oregon get to go out to the farm and work.
I saw the photos on your social media. Yeah. I saw everyone planting the herbs.
Exactly. We're planting Tulsi and Bringaraj and ashwagandha primarily right now.
Amazing.
And so obviously that's, positively offsetting our carbon footprint. So, and then obviously sourcing them more locally is positive. And so we're looking at growing more locally, and at that model. And then also, we're also looking at certifying the fairness of our supply chain. So we are becoming Fair for Life certified this year, which is it's a different process, but really primarily focus on fair trade initiatives and the contracts of our supply chain.
Great.
And then another big initiative for us is to reduce the amount of plastic in our packaging.
Right.
And ultimately eliminating plastic completely.
Wow.
So we're aggressively looking at, switching our oils to aluminum packaging, which hopefully is going to happen next year.
Fantastic.
It's a lot of work, and it's interesting. The substrates are all different and none of them are perfect.
Yes.
And we're also looking at, considering moving out of plastic for our tablets and moving into cardboard, our tablets and cardboard. So we've really identified that as an area of improvement. And of course, just really continuing to improve the job satisfaction of our employees. And we're offering donation matching program to our employees. So when employees make a donation to a nonprofit, we match that.
Isn't that's amazing?
There's so much more we want to do. And I would just encourage everybody to keep a lookout for our social and environmental responsibility report that's going to be coming out.
Great. Are you going to post that on your social media and the website?
It'll definitely be on our website under our commitments. So you can look for it there.
Fantastic.
And we'll be sending out an email about that, I'm quite sure, and sharing it also on social.
Wow.
So there's so much to be proud of.
Much.
This process, I would just say that, now is the time for us as Ayurvedic leaders, as conscious consumers, as business holders, that now is the time for us to make a difference. And, I know that we are all individually being called to do more. And this approach is just, for me, the most impactful thing that I've done in my life. And I'm even the founder of a nonprofit.
Right.
And I think using business to solve social environmental problems, to make a difference in our world, is truly the most impactful way to make a difference. And I'll go as far to say is to save, our planet.
Absolutely. I think you can really say that. This is definitely saving the planet and changing the way we're doing business, because the current capitalist system is not working. So we need to change the way we're doing business, because we can't continue to use the earth and its resources and use people to maximize profit, because we're fatiguing the earth and people, and it's not good for the earth's health or for people's health. So I think I think this is amazing, and bravo to Banyan Botanicals, because it really is, these leaders, these 2,900 companies in the world who now are B corporations, are leaders in this. And I know it was a huge undertaking, and I think it's just amazing. And I'm so happy to support you guys. And I would encourage people to support you as well, because I think it's just amazing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Colette. And it's amazing what you're doing. I just want to reciprocate the gratitude and just honor you as a change maker. And I just love how you network and put positive information out there, positive news out there via your podcast and all the great work that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Erin. Thank you very much. So what would your advice be, Erin, for anyone out there who's interested in starting the process of becoming a certified B Corporation business? I know you said there's the assessment. Is that the best place to start?
Yes, I'd say start with the quick impact assessment and expect that you will feel overwhelmed. And that's that's okay, because, you know, it's a rigorous assessment, but that's for a reason, because there is so much we can be doing. But just take baby steps. If it feels rewarding and that you want to continue on, roll that into the impact assessment and start with the workers section. I'd say, you know, start with, for the most part, just do the basics in the environmental section.
Right.
Save that for later.
Okay.
Because that's I feel like that could be its own certification in itself.
Okay, good advice there. Okay,
yeah,
so that could be
I would say
overwhelming. Okay, great.
Yes, and I would also say that seek out, if you have limited time, there are consultants in certified B Corp consultants that are sustainability consultants that can probably offer, you know, shorten your time frame and shorten the time and therefore money it would take to become certified. Like I said, it took us a couple years because we were kind of doing it blindly. And so I think if it would help to have a step-by-step process. And so if businesses can afford to do so, that would be a good thing. But also start when you're a small business. Like if you're just starting a business, and if you intend to scale your business, go ahead and become a certified B Corp. Or if you're not interested in certifying, at least take the assessment to help you build the framework that you can build upon, so that you don't have to go back and do it later. That would be really important. It will save a lot of time and energy. And it's really just, you know, it helps you become a better business.
Right. And it's fantastic to have that framework already there that you just, you know, you have a template there to work off, which is amazing.
That's right. That's right. And in the process, you'll discover templates that have been already written, and that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, recreate the wheel, reinvent the process. So there's a lot of tools within the assessment. Okay. So I'd say just go for it and do the quick impact assessment, and do it quickly. And that's some advice that I've heard somebody else give a company, so that you don't get overwhelmed, but answer conservatively so that you don't overscore. And then, you know, go through it in one day. Don't take more than a day to do the quick impact assessment, and then go, you know, feel it out from there.
Okay. Fantastic. Great advice. Wonderful. Well, Erin, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I'd love for you to tell the listeners now where they can find out more about Banyan Botanicals, if they don't already know, and how that we can support Banyan's great endeavors in making this world a better place.
Yes. Well, our website is banyanbotanicals.com. That's a great place to start. We under the Ayurveda section, you can learn more kind of about the history of Banyan and why we started the company. That's a really interesting story. Yes. And you can also learn about our commitments to our 3 pillars: organic, sustainably sourcing, and fair trade. You can learn about that under our commitments section on our website. And we are revamping our website just a little bit. So it's going to be even easier to navigate very shortly over the next year. But you can also just go into Google and type in Banyan Botanicals, and the +sign, and B Corp, and you'll see some of the articles we've written. I recently wrote an article about why we chose to certify. Oh, great. And then also, when you do that search, our profile page will come up on the B Corp .net website. Okay. So that's a fun thing to look at too. Fantastic. I would also welcome if anybody has any feedback or questions, they can always reach out to me. And my email is erind@banyanbotanicals.com. But I'll leave our listeners with something that really impacted me in my heart that our CEO has said. He said, we want all companies to become certified B Corp companies, or at least to go through the assessment, because in that process, we've become a better company. Yeah. We've become a better corporate citizen. And it's such an impactful way to make a difference in the world. Just these pragmatic approaches that the process offers is just tremendous. And so Yeah.
Oh, goosebumps. I love it. And I
Goosebumps.
think if businesses, the change needs to come from businesses as well. And that has a huge impact on the world and on the environment and on the morale of workers and on the health of workers. When companies make these shifts, it's just, it's huge. And I think if more companies make this shift, and what's going to drive it is if we support B Corps, if we're spending our money with B Corps, that's how we get change. And so the more we're out there spending our money with companies who are B corporations, I think that will make a big impact. So that's what we can do on our level.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Erin,
that's so true.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today, for sharing all this information and sharing your process. You're so generous to share it with people because it will help others in the process. And thank you so much for sharing your email. And I'll put all these links in the show notes for everybody. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, my dear. And again, bravo to you and Banyan Botanicals for making such a positive impact in the world. Really wonderful.
Thank you so much, Colette, and bravo to the B Corp movement in general.
Yes.
And thank you so much, and bravo to you for sharing this wisdom and this exciting information during these really important times in our world.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you, Erin, and I look forward to connecting with you soon, my dear.
Lots of love, Colette.
Likewise, lots of love back to you. Take good care of yourself.
Thank you.
Ciao. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Erin Douglas from Banyan Botanicals. And while it was about B corporations, I do think we all here have an interest in supporting companies that are conscious, that promote sustainability and inclusiveness. So I do think that this is an important conversation to have and to get an insight into these corporations. And just we know who they are so we can support these companies. Thank you for tuning in. As always, if you think that some of your friends or family will be interested in this episode, please share it with them. And don't forget about my upcoming retreat, October 11th to the 13th in the south of France. Would love to have you in the village I live in, and we're going to do lots of yoga and talk about Ayurveda, meditation, breath work, and much more. So I hope you can join me there in the south of France in October. Just click on the link in the show notes for all the details, or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com/retreat. Until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and ciao for now.